So we've talked about DTH boxes and streaming devices in my previous videos. Now it's time to review the star of the show, the LG 65-inch 4K TV. This is the Nanocell version of the TV. This was the headliner TV of the Nanocell range in India from 2019. Outwardly, this is a very smart looking TV, and the crescent-shaped stand adds to its appeal. So much so that I actually abandoned the excellent adjustable wall mount that comes with this TV just to complete that look with its stand. The bezels are narrow and overall the look and feel of this TV is very premium. Now when you look for a new TV in 2020, you will go through a similar shortlisting process to what I had done in February this year. To help with this journey, let me take you through the steps to choose the right TV for you and also to find out if the Nanocell TV is a good fit in your home. The first fundamental decision you will need to make is about the budget and hence the cost-related performance you are willing to pay for. If you simply want the size and don't care for advanced features such as picture processing, then you're looking at the budget segment. And that segment is one of the most competitive with no lack of choices nowadays. 55 inches is a commonly available size for not much money and will get you even 4K resolution for around 30,000 rupees. Moving up, TN panels give way to IPS panels and some form of meaningful picture processing. You can then get sizes of 65 inches and beyond. These TVs will have a lot going for them and will be suitable for general viewing for most people. If, however, you demand the best that technology can currently offer and are willing to pay upwards of 150,000 rupees for the privilege, especially for sizes that are 65 inches and above, then you come into the realm of the high-end segment. The three main players are Samsung, Sony and LG. And there are three technologies to choose from. You have LCD TVs that use LED backlighting and come with full array local dimming. Then there are the alternative technology TVs such as QLED and Nanocell, both describing similar ideas, where Nanocell uses particles of the size of 1 nanometer in size to absorb unnecessary light waves and deliver pure colors of the highest quality. QLED uses quantum dots that arrange between 2 and 10 nanometers in diameter and produce different colors depending on their size. These dots are able to produce more heavily saturated and precisely defined primary colors from blue LEDs that you can get from the relatively broad and thus imprecise light spectrum associated with white LEDs. In layman terms, both these technologies will produce better results than most conventional LCD TVs. Except perhaps top-of-the-range Sony LCD TVs that again offer excellent picture processing and exceptional brightness. In fact, both top-of-the-range Samsung QLEDs and Sony LCD LED TVs are amongst the brightest TVs you can find in the market. LG lags behind in this area, and if this is of primary concern to you, then perhaps these two are more suitable. Another technology that is all set to be the future and is already dominating the higher end of the TV market is the OLED technology. Similar to what flagship phones use nowadays, each individual pixel in this kind of panel has the capability to turn on and off on their own, and as a result, perfect blacks and vibrant colors can be achieved. Even though they are not as bright as some QLED and conventional LED LCD TVs, the overall image quality is the best. However, there is one big concern with this technology, and that is the issue of burn-in. Without dwelling too much on this, just know that if you watch content for many hours that has a specific logo or symbol displaying constantly, then this can potentially be permanently burned in the screen and will not go away. It's less of an issue nowadays, and pixel refresh and other such features are making it less of a worry. But if you are concerned about this, it's perhaps best to avoid this technology for now. Another fundamental decision you will need to make will be about the operating system of your next smart TV. Sony uses Android, Samsung has Tizen, and LG uses WebOS. All have their pluses and minuses, and instead of praising one or the other, let me tell you why I chose WebOS. I wanted the pointer that WebOS offers and makes navigating a big screen a breeze. whether it's selecting items from a long list or typing on the on-screen keyboard. It offers superb functionality and is a unique selling point with the LG. Secondly, the number of apps that are available with WebOS and Tizen are nowhere near as comprehensive as Android TV, but almost any DTH smart box or streaming device you will offer this platform anyway, so you will have the best of both worlds. And Tizen and WebOS offer a much smoother and refined experience over Android TV. Both have the unobtrusive bar that pops up from the bottom of the TV, and apps can quickly be selected from this instead of the Android full screen app menu. So with that out of the way and the TV panel technology decided, I had to choose between various LG models. OLED was out because I bought this TV keeping in mind my parents watching news channels for hours on end, where the thought of Burnin was concerning. Since I wanted picture processing and artificial intelligence in the processor of my smart TV, I had a couple of options: 65SM8600 and 65SM9000. The main difference was that the SM9000 had a 40-watt speaker upgraded from 20-watt and also full array local dimming instead of the side-lit SM8600. Now this is more impressive on paper than in real life, but more on this later. An added benefit with the SM9000 was that it was a much brighter TV, making HDR meaningful. So the LG Nanocell 65SM9000 PTA 65-inch TV it is. Now you can read about its various features on the LG website, but let me summarize its key features that made it stand out from the lower ranking TVs. This is an IPS panel, meaning very wide viewing angles, making it perfect for big living rooms. It comes with 3 USB ports and 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, one of which is eARC enabled. In short, this means a lossless and lag-free audio interface for upcoming soundbars and home theater systems. And most of these ports are available on the side of the TV, making them easily accessible. It has the Alpha 7 second generation processor for picture processing and artificial intelligence that can help improve and upscale content shot in low resolutions. It is a 100Hz panel, meaning it's very smooth with motion. New stickers look very smooth on it. It has an Ethernet port on the back but can also connect to 5 GHz networks, which offer equivalent internet speeds if the signal strength is good. It also has Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision, and picture and sound are exquisite with content that supports this. It has both Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant built right in, and also offers a way to control IoT devices from its connections menu. It comes with Apple TV built in and also offers Apple AirPlay for your Apple devices. It comes with a Magic Remote, a Bluetooth based remote and pointer with shortcuts for Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, besides programmable shortcut buttons. In terms of the interface, when you press the home button on the Magic Remote, it brings up the WebOS app menu from the bottom of the screen. You can search from here or go to the home dashboard or pull up last used media source. Following this, the last few media sources are displayed and it memorizes the programs played in these and will take you right back to the content you were watching on them. After this, you get a number of tiles with major apps like Netflix, Disney Hotstar, Z5, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, etc. You also get access from here to the LG Content Store, a sort of app store for WebOS where you can browse and download new apps. There is also a good web browser here and photo, video and music browsers for locally stored media. Finally, this app menu offers an option to customize it and also to enter the settings menu from here. Now a little bit about the home dashboard. Here you can view, add and rename input sources and also connected devices and hard drives. It offers a connection guide and Bluetooth audio playback options besides Apple AirPlay settings and a list of your configured IoT devices. In practice, because of the ease of use of the apps bar, you will visit this dashboard rarely, but it's still good to have this overview and a sort of control center for things. A similar idea is used for the settings menu. Pressing the settings button on the remote once brings up a bar from the left of the screen with a quick settings menu. From here, you can quickly change picture and sound modes, change the aspect ratio, select another audio source, set a sleep timer, and check the network status or enter the network connection menu. If you go to the last option in the list or press and hold the settings button on the remote, it will bring up the deep settings menu where you have an extensive list of options. Now we won't go into each of these options, but rest assured you can set up most things as per your preferences and then rarely need to visit this section on a daily basis. Now coming to the performance of this TV, most content looks astoundingly good on this TV. Its 4K panel is razor sharp, and when watching content that supports HDR and Dolby Vision, everything looks sublime. Even with lots of daylight, this TV is bright enough and the reflections are well controlled. In fact, in HDR mode, this TV is capable of exceeding 900 nits of brightness. Netflix and Amazon Prime Video look and sound very good here. But I feel Apple TV takes the cake in terms of content that's available and how well it plays out on this TV. If you watch downloaded content via a hard drive or other such source, and that content has not been compressed too much, 4K content will look superb here. At native resolution, there is little to fault here, except its darkroom performance, but more on that in a bit. Even content as low as 720p is upscaled very well on this TV and looks nice. This is especially true with 1080p content, and once that is upscaled, it looks close to 4K. 480p content and lower does not look too good and is only passable, but perhaps that is due to the large size of the screen as well. The speakers sound as good as a TV can get, meaning if you're an audiophile, get a soundbar or an external sound system. I was never bothered about this aspect until I heard a demo of the LG SL8Y soundbar. This made me want to get one. The difference between the TV speakers and that was night and day. But I'm waiting for the 2020 LG models to arrive that can take full advantage of the eARC capabilities of this TV. Being a 100Hz sharp 4K panel, you can even use this as an external monitor for your computer in some situations. Even Apple AirPlay works very well on this, and so does casting your screen. Now the negatives of this TV. Really there are only two, but a pretty big one is the darkroom performance of IPS TVs. This is no secret, and there are countless reviews that mention this on the internet. I'm not going to tell you any different, because it's not. And if you watch dark content in a dark room, there is lots of visible blooming, and the full array local dimming feature sounds and feels like a joke. Whilst this is meant to offer a lot more zones that can independently be dimmed to make the contrast look better, in practice it's abysmal. Really bad. Quite simply look elsewhere if this is what you're looking for, especially take a look at OLED TVs. Personally, I just turn on the lights. It really makes a difference, and I seldom watch dark content in a dark room anyway. Vibrant, well-lit and colorful images pose no such problems. One other negative is the built-in Chromecast, which is only visible when the TV is on and not in the standby mode, and besides this is also inconsistent in playing content. So much so that I have had to add a separate Chromecast device to one of the HDMI inputs, as some apps on Android phones didn't even show the built-in TV Chromecast in the list of devices in the cast menu. Overall, this is a really good TV for many people. It cost me 135,000 rupees, and that means it offered me savings of over 50,000 rupees when compared to an equivalent OLED, and even more compared to high-end Sony LCD TVs and top-end Samsung QLED TVs. It comes with an excellent operating system and offers some of the best picture quality and processing that's on the market. The 2020 successors will feature next-generation processors and subtle improvements in other areas, and will continue to be a strong proposition for the same requirements. Avoid this TV only if you plan to watch dark content in a dark room. Otherwise, wholeheartedly buy it and enjoy it for years and years to come. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing if you like this content to view my future uploads.